Hello. I really had a great privilege to talk to Mteto Nyati. Mteto Nyati qualified as an engineer in the 1980s at what was then the University of Natal in South Africa. He then worked as an engineer for a number of engineering companies in the country before spending a few years in Paris, France, working for IBM. His career since then has really been made by his ability to turn around companies. When I reviewed his book, Betting on a Darkie, Lifting the Corporate Game, a few years back, I referred to him as a turnaround strategist. And this is really because he has been brought in to companies when they found themselves in troubled times and has been able to take those companies out of those troubled times. For example, he was the managing director at Microsoft South Africa and then the CEO at MTN South Africa. And he got into these companies at times that are very difficult for these companies. He was also the CEO at the electronics company, Altron, where by the time he had left, he had managed to make the shareholders 6 times wealthier. We do discuss this ability that he has to turn around companies in this interview. Teto's story is really one of courage, determination, hard work, and this ability to connect with people, grow people, and make people rally behind a positive vision. If you enjoy this video, please do like it, share it with friends and anyone else you think might find this kind of content valuable. And subscribe to the channel, of course. Do leave a comment in the comment section below. Without further ado,
I first came across your work in 2020 when I bought myself a copy of your book, Betting on a Darkie, Lifting the Corporate Game. And I've been following your work since then. And thank you for agreeing to be on this channel. Welcome.
Hey, thank you so much. Good.
Yeah.
It's very nice to connect with you. I do remember that you asked for a call after you have read this book, and I like the fact that you took the initiative and spent just over an hour on the call. It says a lot about you. So thank you.
Thank you. Likewise, I would say it says a lot about you as well, given your very busy schedule. So I made a video actually once I read the book. It was titled Part 1. I reviewed your book in a sense. And I said Part 1 because I was hoping to continue and review the rest of the book. But I didn't know that Part 2 would be me talking to you. So it's great. Off to the first question I have for you actually. So you're quite popular within the South African business environment. And I think this popularity is earned, given that you've turned around many companies. You've been MD at Microsoft South Africa, then the CEO at MTN. Now you're also the chairman at Eskom, but before that, you were CEO at Altron. So, but for the people who still don't know you, may you please tell us who you are, where you were born, and where you were raised?
Thank you, Kuste. And I come from the Eastern Cape. I was born in Mthatha in the Eastern Cape. My parents were both teachers. I'm saying were because they are both gone. We truly miss them. I come from a very large family. I'm one of 10 children. They had 10 children. But of course, my dad had, unfortunately, he divorced his first wife. And he married a couple of years later. He married my mom, and with my mom he had 4 children. So basically, from the first marriage, 6, and then 4. And you can see it's a big family. I'm the firstborn of the second lot, but I'm number 7. So basically, for me, thinking about inheritance, it never even featured because there's no way that I could get any of that. So the only way out was always going to be through education. I focused on that. The good thing, both of the parents prioritized education. My mom also decided, because we've got such a large family, she decided to go and start up a trading store. That trading still really lifted all of us from what I would say lower middle class to family in the middle class. She helped all of us get to university through her support. But I also spent a lot of time in that shop supporting her. It gave me a very, very good view of and grounding around how to treat people, how to treat clients. You can see that there are two things ever I go that are focused on. The first one is customers, and making sure that we serve those customers. The second one is really about the people that I work with, empower them, support them, create an environment for them so that they can do their best work. I learned all of that back in my village from her.
Thank you so much for the response. And it actually leads very well to my second question, which is, so you're clearly a businessman and you spent most of your career in business. And, you grew up, of course, at the heart of business at home, as you've just narrated. But your father wanted you to be a doctor, but you studied engineering. But it doesn't really come out to me when I read the book what really the plan was, what the dream was for you. So what hopes and dreams did you have for yourself and your career as a young boy growing up in Tat?
Yeah. So growing up in Mthatha, for me, all I wanted, I knew that I needed to make an impact in the world. And as I was growing up, there are certain things that came natural to me. I was just curious. So I would, during those times, there used to be radios instead of TV. So I would, for the people of the village, if their radios were not working, they would bring them to me. And because I was curious, I'd open things up with a screwdriver, then pick up, oh no, it's just that little connection that has been loosened. Then you appear to be knowledgeable, but it's just because you're curious. And it moved into things like watches and clocks, those kind of things. And when my dad, he used to buy second-hand cars, and of course they needed a lot of attention. There was this motor mechanic that used to go and fix his car. I was the one who was always kind of working with him, and looking at the piston and looking at this and radiator, all of these things. And I was just curious. So I always knew that I was drawn into that kind of world, a world. It's about fixing things, but I never knew the profession that captures that. It was only when I left, I was fortunate enough to represent South Africa in the United Kingdom in 1980, as I was the top student in math and science. And when I got there, I started to get exposed to all of the different careers that were there. And I remember Daily Dispatch, which is the Eastern Cape newspaper. They interviewed me, and I said, no, I'm going to be a doctor. And that's when I left to go to the UK. When I came back to the UK, I knew that being a doctor is the last thing that I should be doing. Now, having been exposed to all of the careers, I knew that the thing that spoke to me was engineering, in particular mechanical engineering. And at that time, we really did not have any black mechanical engineer. We had one or two civil engineers. So that's another motivation for me. Say, hey, we need to prove that we can do this as well. So I selected one of those. I thought there was like complex and difficult, chemical engineering and mechanical. So that's how I made that decision.
Yeah, that's a very interesting story. Indeed, it does come out not only from your book, but also looking at your career, that you are quite drawn to fixing things. So, as I mentioned already, you're something of a turnaround strategist, if such a word exists. So what comes out of your book again is that you enjoy the challenge of fixing things. What do you think, because I think a lot of us do, what do you think gives you the ability to not only, come into these places, but be as successful as you have been in fixing things? For people who do not know, for context, you came in at both MTN and Microsoft South Africa during troubled times, right? And by the time you left Altron, I think you had made shareholders 6 times wealthier. So clearly you have the ability to make things work. But what do you think makes you, what gives you the ability to be that successful at doing this?
Look, Kuste, there's something that I want to share with your listeners. One of them is what I call self-awareness. I think all of us need to pay attention to the things that we are good at, and also to the things that we're not so good at. You have to make that assessment of yourself. Isn't what are those things that I'm good at? And many people come to me and say, "Hey, you're fixing this and fixing that. Why don't you start up your own business?" And I tell them that that's not me. That's not me. But I am very good. Once the business is already there, I'm good at growing it. I'm good at fixing it. But don't ask me to go and start a business. So that talks to you being very clear and comfortable, or understanding who you are. For some people, starting up a business, that's what they should be doing. My brother, Dr. Fundile Nyati, he has got his own business. He started his own business, but that's not me. I would not be able to do that. So I connect with the things that comes naturally. That's very important to me. I also did engineering, which was very much in line with the things that I love, math and science. And I was not struggling. I would get good marks without putting too much effort in those. Whereas I would put a same mark for biology, but I used to work so hard. So I'm a bit lazy. I go with the things that come natural to me. So when I look at this, okay, this comes natural. Engineering is the thing that I should be doing. And the thing that they teach you in engineering is the ability to do problem solving, problem solving and getting to the root of something, not symptoms, getting to the heart. What is the real issue? And that is an important skill to have, or competence to have, when it comes to understanding a business, where it is, what are the problems that it faces. You go into an environment, you need to quickly assess what are the 2 or 3 things that if you were to pull those levers, it would move things and turn things around. You look for what I call the high areas of leverage. And not all things that you do will give you the best outcome. You need to identify those few that if you can just do with minimum effort, then it would give you the most result. And that's what engineering teaches. At least that's what it taught me, the ability to zoom in on what matters. And I've taken that skill away from engineering to life issues. When it comes to looking at the organization, understanding where the organization is, what is it that its challenges are, the ability to get to that root cause. It is the thinking that it was helped by my engineering training. So you can see I've not left engineering. In fact, I'm using even more engineering, way beyond the machines now, into when I'm connecting with people. Something that I do a lot of coaching of young people, coaching of other CEOs. You listen to them, you quickly get to, oh, okay, this is what I think you should be doing. You're helping them, and that is the thinking that has helped me to be able to do that. That is an engineering thinking. So that is the thing that has helped me. Plus, I think that one of the things I've also reflected on, why was I born? Why are you in this life? It's not by mistake. You are here for a reason. I've tried to figure that out for myself. And I came to the conclusion that my purpose in life, my purpose is to awaken the giant in others, awaken the giant in others. I truly believe all of us have got greatness within ourselves. We've got greatness that many of us don't believe that. In fact, they think that greatness is with Gushle and with Mandela, Darkie, Obama, but they never look at themselves as having that same greatness. And I found that through my interactions with people, I can help them to believe more in themselves. I can help them to take even more risk. I can help them to take even more responsibilities when I can create an environment where they feel that they can bring their best selves into that environment, right? And that is so important when it comes to turnaround, because you don't turn around as one person. There's just one leader. You need everybody. You want all of the people to support that turnaround. You need so the support of people, the engagement with people, and having them motivated to do things is so key when you are doing any turnaround effort. So it's a combination of the thinking that comes from engineering and the ability to create a great environment for people to do their best work.
Yeah, thank you so much for that response. And it makes me think a lot about other things that came out from reading your book. Because, when I think, and I think most people do, when I think about the kind of people who are able to inspire others, or maybe, to use the words, awaken the giant within, they think of very extroverted, outgoing types. But when I read the book, as a young man, at least, the people who come into the book and talk about you, you were a very observant person, but didn't say much. So yeah, I mean, it's in my head, that's not usually the combination that's this person was able to inspire others, but can be reserved and observant and doesn't say much.
That's very interesting. That's very, very smart for you to be picking up that piece. And one thing that I've realized when it comes to life, I look at what is it that most human beings want. What is it that they want? And I came to the conclusion that most of us, I'm saying most because some of us don't, most of us they want to love and be loved. That is really what that many people would like. But the second thing that comes after that, the second thing that they would want out of life, they want to be heard. They want to be heard. So think about this thing. You've got someone who's an extrovert who hardly is able to listen to anybody. They just love their own voices, right? And then you have a person who does not say much, but they giving the other party the opportunity, they listening to the other party. Who would people want? Majority of people prefer leaders that listens to them. Leaders, because that act of listening is showing a number of things. First, it's saying to the other party that I can see you, I can see that you exist. It's also saying that I respect you. And the act of listening is also saying that what you say is something that I think is of value and is worth listening to. All of that through the act of listening, right? So it is such an important, powerful thing, the listening part, not the talking, but the listening part. So that's why when you're creating a space for people to be able to say things to you without you saying much, they will come and say, hey, Mteto is such a great leader. But what is it that he really did? What he did is to listen. So I'm just saying that we need to be careful about what we think is valuable. What people value the most is the listening part, not the talking part.
Yeah. Yeah, and I heard on another interview you said you think you are a good listener. So as a middle-level exec at Park, you began writing thought leadership articles that appeared, I think, in Business Day and Productivity Essay. And later, while you were at Yale, you started writing more again, papers about South African labor laws and what the country needed to do to grow. So it's quite clear to me that you are quite a patriotic person. And right now, I'd say South Africa is in need of patriotism. I'm sure there's a lot to say here, but maybe please share a few things, maybe 3 to 5, that you think the country needs to do in order to turn itself around.
Yeah, look, I love South Africa. I remember when I was 2008, I had the opportunity to take a role in the United States, and in fact, my family and I were already on our way to the US because I've been given and offered a job there by IBM. Very excited, family, looking forward. Then I got this offer from Microsoft, and they asked me to come and help fix their company here in South Africa. I decided to stay in South Africa because I think this is where I was needed the most. This is where I wanted to make a contribution. This is where, I think we've got a great country. So I love South Africa. And it's sad when you start to see some of the challenges that are facing our country today. So I think the first thing for me, generally speaking, whether we're talking in public sector or in private sector, we need leadership. Leadership matters. Really, it matters. We need people who care deeply about what they do. And the kind of leadership that I'm talking about, there's an important element that is missing most leaders. This is the element as I call stewardship. When you have been given something, I give you something, and I said, look after this thing. And when you give it back to me in 3 or 4 years' time, it would be great that I get something that is in a better condition than what I gave you. And that's the approach we should be taking when it comes to leadership. It does not matter whether you are looking after a small team or you're looking after your family or what. When you have been given a responsibility, that thing that is you have been given, when you want to give it, hand over to other people, you must hand it over in a state that is better than what you found. Very, very important. I call that stewardship. That's one piece that I seem to, when you look around, look at the municipalities, look at Eskom, look at Transnet, look at all of these entities. Where are they? Are we taking care of this? What are we going to be giving over to the generation that's coming after us? Are we taking care? That's what is missing. So we're lacking leadership. Leadership looks after things. It's not about taking; it's about looking after things. So that's the first thing that I think is required. I think the other thing that we should pay attention to is to create a country and the people that are dependent. People that feel that they are helpless. We need to actually create people who are able to take initiative, who are able to wake up and do things for themselves, not people who are waking up and waiting for things to be done for them. So that's another big important part that we need out of South Africa. We are sitting in our country with so many problems. We can one way and look at those problems as being issues and challenges, or we can look at them as opportunities. Many, many times we've seen people coming from either Indian communities or white communities, looking at the townships or in the rural areas and coming up with solutions that are addressing the problems of those communities. But here are these are people that are outside of these communities, coming with solutions, making money out of creating solutions. In fact, the people who should be making money out of this, solving this problem, should be us. If you look at prepaid is it's a solution to a black problem. Prepaid. You look at Capitec. Capitec, the whole value proposition of Capitec talks to blacks, is understanding some of the challenges that black people have, and they come up with a solution. Look at what he has done. It's now one of the biggest banks to solving a black problem. Those problems should be solved by us. We are the ones who are the closest to those problems. So I think having a society where more and more of us are taking initiative or trying this and trying that. No, but let's not give up. Fail once, you dust yourself, wake up, you try something else again. So that's the second thing, having a people that are having the right kind of education, but at the same time, people who are entrepreneurial, people who are able to come up with initiatives to try and address the problems around them instead of waiting for other people to do that. And I think last but not least, we need to take care of broadly the health of our society, to look at our healthcare, in particular public healthcare in South Africa, is not anywhere close to where it needs to be. It's actually getting worse. And what kind of future are we ever going to have if we've got poor education and then healthcare? So those are the elements that I would say we need to look at as a society. Those are the three key things for me.
Thank you so much for that response. Yeah, I think the reason why I bought your book actually before I had known about you was the title of the book, honestly. I was at a bookstore and I saw this book, Betting on a Darkie, and it was, to me, in some way spoke to me, and I bought the book and I don't regret it. But why did you decide to title the book Betting on a Darkie?
Look, I'm sure you've just heard now me challenging most of us as black communities to bet on ourselves. I'm challenging. For me, I think there's something. I mean, we're living in a society where if you are black, you are regarded. There's nothing much that can be expected from you. A matter, of course, that's nonsense. All of that is nonsense. But somehow, whether you are here or in America or in the UK, that's the kind of narrative, right? So when you say betting on a Darkie, already is creating a problem. How can you bet on something you should not, you cannot even count on, So I'm challenging the thinking, because I come from a world which says that we are all, none of us has got monopoly when it comes to the intellectual capability. It's not one race or the other. We all have the capability to be able to do great things. I come from that world. So I wanted to challenge people, people who think low of us, that in fact, this is what people can do. You can bet on these people, and this is what we can do. Look at the example of just one of the millions of people that are, if given an opportunity, this is what they can do. I also am somebody that does not like, I don't like this political correctness thing. I like to call a spade, and I don't beat about the bush, straight talk around certain things. So Darkie, I wanted to own that. I mean, Darkie, we use that word for ourselves, but it's also used by others on us. I'll say, if we use it and use it in the right way, we're actually taking it away from them instead of using them in a wrong way. So I'm claiming my blackness. That's part of what is happening there. And what you typically hear when we have got successful people is that, no, successful is an exception. So he's actually not, he's less black. There's no such a thing, So that's again being very, very intentional, very deliberate in claiming my blackness, through that, And of course, I'm also a guy that is that's been around. Marketing is something that I understand very well. So having a title that is a bit that's challenging, that's controversial, that's a little bit of that, it helps. People say, "Oh, I wonder what's in there," like it did to you. And yeah, you can have a great book, but if nobody reads it, what's the point, right? So you need as many people as possible to be able to read, and marketing is just one part of getting that.
Thank you for that marketing lesson. I've always thought that if I build a better mousetrap, they will come. So you have given up a couple of commitments to focus on your chairmanship at Eskom. I think one of them is a board position at Nedbank, if I'm not mistaken. I've heard that the CEO job at Eskom is the hardest job in the country. So I assume that the chairman position comes close. Why did you decide to take the job?
Look, as you heard from me, I'm somebody that's very intentional when I do things. It's not like I wake up and then the next day, no. Everything has to speak to, how does this talk to my purpose, what I believe is my purpose in this life, So I had to look at through that lens. Does it make sense, this offer that I'm getting, being asked to become the chairman? How does it talk to that purpose? If I do this, what impact will it have, in terms of the broader society? How does it talk to my loving this country, which is another big part of who I am? How does it talk to also the fact that we need to demonstrate that Black leaders are not people who, if you give them something, you end up with a mess. You can actually have Black leaders that you give them something, you end up with something that is world-class, So how does this thing that is in front of me talk to that? If I were to do this and do it well, does it help with this narrative or cancel this narrative that is out there? So I look at all of these things, and I came to the conclusion that this is one of those roles that given all of my experience, I feel that it has prepared me for something like this. First, is the ability to manage stakeholders. In an environment like this, you need to be able to manage upwards. As you know, in Eskom, I don't know how many ministries that are linked to Eskom, but there are many of them. And if you are unable to manage those relationships, it's going to become, apparent. It's going to be clear. Going to have challenges. So the ability to manage that. So that's one bit. The type of problem that we have is both a technical problem and also a people problem, right? And technically, I've been trained. I'm an engineer. I understand how to fix things. I understand what is required in order to stabilize systems. I get that. But at the same time, When it comes to Eskom, you also need to have a very, very strong focus around people, around making, because you've got people there that no longer believe in themselves, right? They've been beaten up by this country and everybody else and given all sorts of names. So they are way down there. You need to find a way of lifting them up. You need to find a way of helping them to believe in themselves. Because the reality is there is no other institution in South Africa that has got the highest concentration of smart people that understand the engineering space than Eskom. We'll never find. All of those people, the smartest people around this space, you'll find them in Eskom today. But they may not be able to believe in those people. So they need us, the leaders, to help them to connect with themselves, and be able to do that. So there's a huge component which is really about people and supporting them and making them to be able to pull themselves up and be able to fix this thing, because it cannot be fixed. It cannot be outsourced. It cannot be fixed. Go and get people from China or wherever. No, the people who are going to fix Eskom are in Eskom. Yes, they can be supported here and there, but the majority of the people, that are required to fix Eskom are in Eskom, and they are capable of doing that. But we wanted them to be able to. So I looked at that as well. So when I look at that, I said, okay, this thing talks to the things that I am good at. I am good at connecting with people. I'm good at creating environments where people can do their best work. I am good at protecting others, and making sure. I mean, we are going to have a new CEO there. We have a new CEO. I don't want that CEO to be focusing on things that are political on this. He needs to focus on helping create a great environment for the people of Eskom to get ourselves out of the challenges that we're facing in that company. So my job and that of the board should be the job of being, protecting. We should provide him with air cover. And that's what we are going to be doing. So I look at that. This is something that I know how to do that, and I need to take and absorb the pressure on his behalf and the behalf of the team that is working for him, so that they can get focused on doing the job that is at hand. I also need to hold them accountable. I may be a nice guy, but I'm one of those people that hold others accountable. I hold myself accountable too. If there needs to be a tough conversation, I don't shy away from having that tough conversation, because it is through those tough conversations that we move things in the right direction, holding people accountable. If people are unable to do certain things, they're consistently are supporting them, they're doing all of these things, maybe you need a different person to do this thing, So those kind of decisions are not decisions that I shy away from, And maybe last but not least, the whole issue around that environment, governance, corruption, we really do need to nip this thing in the bud. This whole issue of corruption, we need to address it, and that talks to strengthening the systems within Eskom, the control systems, and making sure that they are stronger and able to prevent people from doing some of the things that they have been able to do in the past. Again, it won't happen on its own. That it needs to be led, it needs to be driven. You need to hold the leaders accountable to strengthening those weak controls.
Yeah. Thank you for that response as well. So the former president, Thabo Mbeki, concludes the foreword to your book by saying, let us use the example set by Nyati, with him involved, to educate our young people to aim to be our new Mteto Nyatis. Do you think it's possible first to produce Mteto Nyatis as a country? Another way of putting this question is, were you born or were you created?
Uh, no, all of us were born. Right. So that's the first thing. We all were born. But baby, if you ask, when it comes to leadership, I think I was largely created. So for me, some of these things, it's not leadership. It's not something that I can say I'm a natural born leader. If you read my book, you can see that it's somebody that is quiet, that is reserved. I would rather not have the spotlight on me. But I also realized through time that actually all of these people that are currently, most of the people that are leading us, they may appear to be these natural leaders, but actually they're leading us in the wrong places. If people like me are not stepping up, then you end up with some of the challenges. So I'm actually one of those who, through I'm a reluctant leader. Maybe that's how I would put it. Or I was a reluctant leader, because now it just comes in a bit natural. But initially, it's just something. It's not like how I wanted to. No. So I and there are many people. If you read my book, you can see how I've been shaped by so many people to be where I am, and I'm using that book actually to thank those people that have touched me and helped me and guided me throughout the time, because many of us say, oh no, you would think that someone is self-made. I don't believe that there's anything like that of being a self-made leader. We all need other people, to help us, to develop us. I continue to be growing and helped even today, and that's how things are. So yes, I would say I've been created, but there's something that has not been created here. I'm connected with my purpose, which I came here. I came with that purpose. That's mine. Everything else is created.
Interesting response there. You turn 60 this year. This is around the time that most people start thinking about retirement. I don't think you are thinking about retirement, but you are most likely doing a lot of reflection. And when you do, what is your proudest achievement so far?
I think so far for me, first of all, I'm going to be turning 60 in December this year. So that's and that's a big number psychologically when you look at it, a big 60. But for me, when I left Altron about 2 years ago, and I knew that I don't think I'll ever retire really. And that's why I made the decision that, hey, let me go and make an investment into something that I will be part of forever. I will continue to help grow this thing. So I invested in this company called BSG, which is a business and a technology consulting firm, and that is doing great work, very, very strong in financial services. But now we're expanding it into other industries like telco and media, mining, retail, etc. So that's what I'm going to always part of this. I will always be supporting and helping whoever is leading this organization, help it to grow locally and grow it abroad as well. So retirement is not something that is part of my vocabulary, because I just think that there's so much to do here, and I will continue to find ways and means of contributing without cause taking too much away from my family in terms of time.
Okay, and that leads us very, very, very well to my last question I have for you, actually. So I was on Twitter the other day, and you posted a picture of yourself and your wife, and one of the popular commenters there asked, when should we expect your next book titled Betting on Marriage? So my question is, would you advise young people to bet on marriage?
Yeah, look, in this institution called marriage, to me, it's an important institution. There's so many things that you learn out of that institution called marriage that are useful beyond that the marriage is useful in life. The ability to compromise. You cannot always get your way, right, in life. That's just, we know that, and if you are unable to do that in the marriage, your marriage is likely not going to be it's not going to be around for such a long time, right? But you also need to be very, very intentional when it comes to marriage. By that, I remember I read a book, I think it was 1996. This book is called Born to Succeed. Born to Succeed. A very interesting book, because what is actually saying that we are all set up to be successful. And I'm sure many people say, oh, that's nonsense. Many people who are struggling. But in reality, we have been given all of the things that we need in order for us to be successful in this life. Look at me, I'm short, but in that shortness, there is something, it's good for why I came to this life. And think about it. I was playing a very good rugby growing up, and I was a scrum half. And think about it, and my height played to that, and the ability to, I'm somebody like math and science, calculate and do this and do that, the ability, okay, how should I distribute this ball, and that spoke to the things that were required to perform well in that particular role were the things that I had, right? So what I'm saying, that we've been given all of the things that we need. We just have to pay attention to what we have and not look down and say, oh, I want to be Kushlet. He has been given his things. Look at your things. How can you use your things in order for you to be successful, right? So I can't remember now what was the question. I want to go back to the question.
The question was betting on marriage. Is it something?
Okay. Yes. So this book was saying. So one of the things at the end of the book, it comes and there was an exercise there, and it forces you to look at your life and set yourself some goals. Short-term goals, medium-term goals, and long-term goals. And unfortunately, many of us, we only look at goals from the career perspective. But this book is saying, no, don't just look at one. We're not one-dimensional as a people. You've got so many other dimensions. You need to look at yourself in terms of health. What are your goals related to health? What are your goals related to your relationship to God or whoever you think is, your spirituality? What are your goals around that? What are your goals in relation to your relationships, right? Your relationships. So I remember setting up all of those goals and say, when it comes to my wife, it's not like, oh, these people, shame. They're so blessed. They are married, is so blessed. It's not because I was praying to have this marriage, or I went to a sangoma to get me this perfect. No, you work on it. You are intentional. I made a call and said, I want to make sure that my wife is happy. And which means I need to pay attention to the things that I do or don't do. When I get home, because I am somebody that's very busy, they got involved in so many things, I do not want to get into an environment at home where I'm fighting. I want to be in an environment where I'm looking forward to relaxing. But that does not come on its own. It means that I should not create things that will make it difficult for me to go back home. So all of those are choices that I make. I'm making those choices. I don't know. My wife she had to make her own choices, but I'm just making my choices in order for me to have the right kind of environment where I feel that, So I'm just saying here is that marriage it helps a lot. There's a partnership, the partnership. If you look at my book and how I'm discussing actually, I will say that in many ways, my wife is like my coach, I discuss those things and we discuss and she look at things from a different angle, and then we make decisions around things. And if you do not have that kind of a support structure, and you get out to this world and that is so tough, it becomes so difficult. So for me, marriage is something that is so important. It also helps you grow within a marriage. You grow because it's not all about you. It's also about the other. You need to be thinking about the other. And anybody who thinks about the other, I call that self-transcendence. Think about the hierarchy of needs, of Maslow's hierarchy of needs. I have my own one, which is the sixth one, where it's not about being self-actualized. It's about transcending yourself, self-transcendence. And it's those people that are at that level that start to see how much they impact the world because they're starting to serve others, So for me, this is part and parcel of this marriage thing. So I support the institution of marriage. It teaches us a lot. It helps with your support structures. And it also makes one to be a good human being.
Thank you so much for that very generous response and the other responses as well. I really appreciate you spending time with us here, and I have really enjoyed this interview, and I hope you have too.
Yes, I did. Thank you so much. You are a smart young man, and kind of questions that you asked, so deep. Others, as I was saying, it says a lot about you, and I will continue to look and watch you, and as you grow in terms of your own career, I'm betting on you. Go there and make us proud.
All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Nyati. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.